Scholastic wanted me to cut that entire paragraph out all the way. But not only that, they also wanted me to cut the word racism out of the note altogether. An author's note in a picture book works a little differently than author's note in a lot of other things. So at the end of like a nonfiction, even sometimes fiction picture books, author's notes will be like right at the very end. In mine, there's like a picture of my grandparents so that you understand like these really are real people. This is their true story. It's Truman Capote real. The dialogue is imagined, but all the main points are correct. But it also like helps situate, I think, for parents and educators more than anyone else, how I intend the book to be read. And so sometimes it's context, sometimes it's just the straight up history. I took the option for context because I think that there are much better books written about the history of incarceration than I could provide, like in a 500 to 1,000 word little afterword author's note. And so I really opted to make sure that when my grandparents' parent story was discussed, it was never with rosy colored lenses on. Like their story is romantic and it's beautiful, but it's beautiful in part because they were horribly subjugated in a completely inexcusable and unjustified situation defined by state-sanctioned racist violence. And I think that it is essential that the story is discussed that way. And so that's what my author's note sought to do. And I've heard the criticism that I use a lot of like really big words and concepts in the author's note, and it's true. And I don't necessarily think a second grader is going to read it and be like, got it. I was just watching CNN last night and they were talking about this. The idea is for parents and educators to read it and go, okay, so when the kid asks me more questions about this, I have some paltry examples, because when you look at the history of state-sanctioned violence in the United States, it couldn't possibly have all have been fit in my little author's note, but there's a few examples. And I hope that, the parents and teachers who do decide to use this book as a way to open up a conversation with their children about this history, read the author's note as a way of understanding how best to talk about this. So like everything, I don't know where it happened in conjunction with Don't Say Gay. I feel like after, because I feel like during much of the discussion of this, everyone was like, was this Scholastic or DeSantis? And I was like, Scholastic. I do get called on, and I will be frank that I don't feel comfortable being the one who is the ambassador for banned books because I didn't actually get banned. It's wild that I keep getting called on for this. The people who get banned are typically like trans, non-binary, Black, and particularly where those identities intersect. And I think often the reflex to have somebody like me come and speak to those issues speaks to the same prejudice that silenced those other people in the first place. And so I often decline the opportunity to talk about banned books because I'm not banned. Right. That's not true. Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea has been banned 2 times. I think someone finally figured out that it's extremely gay. Like, it was a discussion of preemptive censorship in a culture of book banning. And I know that that's like, it feels like a fine distinction, but because it is not primarily my identity that is targeted with these things, I don't feel like the right person to talk about that stuff. There are better people who are experiencing it in a more intimate way, who deserve to get paid to come speak about it, because pay them.